knows our theme today? Theme? Yes. Occupy. What does it mean to you to occupy? Yes, please.
Thank you so much. When you sit on a chair, nobody else can sit there because you're seated there. So you've occupied it.
You've occupied a chair. You've taken up that space.
My name is Patience. I would take occupy to be like taking charge.
Like, not taking a back seat. Taking charge. Yes, please.
Occupying is like taking territory.
Taking a territory. Unapologetic about I belong here. No one is taking me away from here. It's territorial. That's beautiful. Let's go.
Occupy to mean not allowing a vacuum.
Not allowing. Oh my goodness. Not allowing a vacuum. Now you see, everything we have said is the right thing. Not allowing a vacuum. Taking up space. Now, when you say not allowing a vacuum, some of us are occupying space, but we are apologetically occupying space. We are like, we are there, but we are not there. So, there is space for other things. You realize you have left a vacuum, but some of us, you sit on a chair. So, you realize that when you sit like that, as in, you have occupied, right? But there is occupying, get set. Get on your marks, go, like anything is going to send you away. But have you ever seen people who just get into a boardroom, make themselves comfortable? You can even see how they move, like they're literally making themselves comfortable. And after that, they cross their legs and, and they're like, you know what? Wendy, it's a statement. It's a huge statement. It's saying, I'm not afraid. If you say it, I'm afraid, think twice. As in, it says, I came to take over. But no, just imagine someone comes into your home and sits like that. What do you say? Kajanja, lugezigezi, waizeka. Atudenga nyinimu. My goodness. Atudenga nyinimu. That means nyinimu atula na magulu nakola chi na wanika, like he's in his space. Tolina cho mugamba. He belongs here. Have you ever seen your children how they sit in your chairs? My goodness, sometimes the legs are the other side. And they come with their shoes. And sometimes they just choose to sit on the arm of the chair. And they put their legs in the chair. And they come. Never kuembozi, bulunji nyo. Why? But have you ever seen a mukozi do that? Have you ever seen a house manager do that?
Not at all.
Have you ever seen a guest do that? No. Sorry? Even you as a parent, definitely, you may not do it because you want them to learn good manners. But because they're like, this is my father's house. Like Tolina Chongamba. Just imagine a scenario where you are not home and your children are home with a house manager. What the children take the house managers through, if they're not well trained and well mannered, half the time they are telling them, but mommy bought for me this. But this is mine. As in, they are also claiming their territory and their authority, and they are saying, this is me, I belong here, I am not going anywhere. But how many times in life have we entered spaces? Because when we talk about spaces, talk about whichever space you're in. She's in the space of YouTube. And that is a space that she has chosen and said, I am not going to sink. I am not going to just survive, but I am aiming at level 3. Everybody say level 3. This is a whole different level. This is, if it's a gear, this is a whole different gear that's saying that, you know what, yes, it's an uphill task. Yes, it's not going to come easy, but I have chosen to flourish and thrive on YouTube. And I am here. I have arrived. You even announce your arrival. But you announce to 3 people or 2 people. By the time you go back to check the views, 3 people have seen. By the time you go back, 5 people have seen. But you have announced yourself. You're like, you know what? I have arrived. In this internet era, in this era where I don't need permission to be anything, I am here. And I'm not waiting for permission. So many of us have spaces where we have chosen to step into, but you're at a workplace, but you're seated like this. Have you ever seen people who sit like that? Like seriously, even if they're not seated on a seat and they're just standing or speaking, you can tell someone ali kubunkenke. You can tell someone who does not belong. You can tell someone who is gripped by fear. You can tell someone who feels like they have a spirit of rejection and abandonment. You have seen that? Oh, yes. Whenever they go, they don't fit in. And because they don't fit in, the cycle begins. They don't fit in because they have it in their mind. Do you know that everything that we do begins in our minds? For a person to fully occupy their space, they go through healing. They go through self-acceptance. They go through self-awareness. And they go through a place where they say, you know what? Now this is me choosing me. And this is me garnering confidence to do things on my own terms. I am not going to wait for permission. And then they will come to a workplace, and you will be, whichever position you are, whichever space you are. We talked about occupying space and not leaving a vacuum. Sometimes a person atude kubunkenke sits like this. A person atali sure whether they belong there sits on this corner. Have you seen them? They sit on this corner. They're like, whoever comes, I must leave this seat. So I am better off sitting on this corner. And then you'll find, I don't know whether you've seen these people. Twistinga kagongo, because omugongo then guino kuwa nidira. Na magulo ino engeri joga wetamu, oli mubulumi. Na ye, where you've decided you're not going to occupy space, you're going to occupy a quarter of that space. So that means you are not comfortable. You are not? And let me tell you, I stand in so many categories. As a vision bearer, as an employer, as self-employed, as I have ever been employed. So I know what it means to be in every category. And let me tell you, even as an employer, I demand and I want my staff to belong and to occupy. I don't want to have a staff member that feels like I don't fit in. One leg is out and one leg is in. No, you're either all in or you're all out. Because if you're all out, I have the peace of mind. Because then I have placement and I have vacancy and I can hire people. But whenever you're in that door, you're not getting out, but again, you're not getting in. Then, on Sembia, I'm not getting enough profits. I'm not getting enough work from you, apart from you frowning and you lifting your mouth into the nose and you gossiping and what? Giving haphazard work, right? Because you feel you don't belong. But one who belongs, have you ever seen, and we have those people in our working area. Someone who will feel like they can even walk to the CEO and say, you know what, the way we do this show, I can only give examples of shows because I've been in media for forever. The way we do this show, I think we need to change it. I think if we tweak it like this, it can fit the way the era is running and this kind of, why? They belong. They are all in. Have you ever realized that when you're making your vows, they say, forsaking all? That means they don't want you to have an ex while you are in a marriage. They don't want you to have a side kick, a side nigger, a side... They don't want you to have that. They want you, by the time you say, I do, you have made an about turn from your usual life and you're saying, Mugumbele. You're like, everything that it takes, I'm continuing with this marriage. I am forsaking everything else. That means you are occupying. Let me tell you, there is a joy that comes with occupying. There is a joy that comes with belonging. Knowing that I belong here. I belong. That even when someone ever told you that you should go, you tell him, hey, you will end. If you want to go, you and I, if you want to go, you go. But me, I'm not going. I am here. Najja na kolachi? But jokes aside, There is you occupying your marriage and having, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have issues. No, because you're two different people. It doesn't mean that you're not going to fight or bicker or have conflicts. You will have conflicts. But let me tell you, people that have conflicts but they belong and they occupy a marriage, they fight differently. Oh, yes. Alwana muita honey. Alwana muita sweet bear. Then we have malokulwana na mujukiza anniversary ja. Yeah. Bweba malo okulwana na mujjukizo manyi twabadde tugambye tugule ploti y'ettaka eri kakati tugenda ddi. As in, they are unshakable. Like, I am deeply rooted where I am, and I don't feel like I'm less than. I don't feel like I am not worthy. There are people who are in marriages and they don't feel like they are worthy. They feel like someone is doing them a favor to be with them. So that is why, and let me tell you, naturally, when someone smells it that you think they are doing you a favor, they start handing you the favor. And they start handing you the favor by how they talk to you, the disrespect they do, the lack of loyalty that they do. Why? Because you have shown them. Let me tell you, we disrespect people who disrespect themselves. So now, I don't know what the opposite of occupy is. I don't know. I've given you homework. But some of us are doing that. And let me tell you, it is so good and so easy to do that. And then we maximize ourselves. And now I realize that so many of us are not occupying because of certain strongholds. Now, in this session, we came for personal growth. But we cannot talk about personal growth without talking about God. Okay? So I'm going to give you a little bit of personal growth with a sprinkle of the Holy Spirit. And, and we will cast some demons out and pull up strongholds down. Because some of us, how will you tell that you have a stronghold? It's because of the repeated pattern of something that is delaying you from occupying where you're supposed to occupy. So it's delaying you in poverty, it's delaying you in kwekomoma, it's delaying you in everything. But every time you first, and so many of us know the strongholds that are holding us, so I'm not going to talk to you and tell you the strongholds. We're going to mention them together. Stronghold number 1. Strongholds, as in what is keeping you from occupying.
Fear.
Fear. Now, all strongholds have a beginning. Okay? Most strongholds, there are strongholds that will come from a family background. From a family? Like you did nothing to invite it, but it is following your bloodline because of what was done by your forefathers, by your, the people that came way ahead of you. And you will see that in your whole clan, you're all fearful, like fear grips you. Every time you get to the verge of getting into another dimension, you self-sabotage. You keep away. You don't show up for the interview. When you show up for the interview, you say the wrong things because you are quaking and you are in fear. And sometimes, some of these things happen, the strongholds happen because of the wounds that we got when we were young. The traumatic experiences that we experienced. And then because so many of them come and sometimes we even don't forgive the things that have happened in our former relationships, in our former lives. And so it becomes a stronghold. Now, a stronghold does not build in one day. A stronghold builds over time. It will begin like an anthill. And it will crop up in the soil. And you'll start feeling anger. Because some of us, what has delayed us from occupying is anger. Everywhere you go, every relationship you step in, buliana kugasa. Something comes and jeopardizes that because of untamed anger. And it has not happened once or twice. And then there are things that cannot be beaten by personal growth. You can grow all you want, but for as long as your prayer life and your spiritual life is not strong, there are certain things that are still going to follow you. So now you're like, and we never stop to think, why? I promise myself that I'm going to be consistent. Because consistency is one way that endorses that, you know what, I have occupied this place and I am going to show up every single day. Because there are some of us that occupy momentarily, and then, have you seen winners who win for one day, and then they are toppled over? So you occupy a space, and all of a sudden, someone else comes and takes you over and claims the space. And then you step aside, and someone else takes a shine. And this has not happened once or twice or thrice or 5 times. I felt the need to talk about this because we can talk about occupying, and we can tell you all the tactics and all the actions to take, and you will take them, but for as long as you still have a stronghold that is ruling in your life, you will come back year after year doing the same thing, and you will be 50 and tired and exhausted and throwing in a towel. And guess what? People that are younger than you will have flown and run past you. And you will be feeling jealous, and you will be feeling bad, and you will start grumbling, and then you will start, no funa entondo. But why? Because the time that you had to take to be able to reverse this stronghold or to pull it down, you did not pull it down. Some of us pray, we pray not because we love to pray so much. No. Some of us pray because it's the lifestyle that we adopted to, and we know that it's the one that is going to continuously pull down the strongholds in our way and help us reach wherever we want to go. So we have adopted it as a lifestyle. Okay? So, what other thing? We talked about fear. Yes, please. Procrastination. Procrastination. Now, when you talk about procrastination is thinking that tomorrow I will have the same opportunity. Like I had an opportunity today, I didn't take it, and then you assume that tomorrow you're going to have the same opportunity. But I told you, the world is running at microseconds right now. Do you know how many things are changing right now? So many things are changing. Some people are about to lose jobs because of AI, right? But some of us have not even woken up to understand what AI is. We hate everything new. But let me tell you, and I will tell you in a minute, because these things have gone from generation to generation. People hating new things and people remaining the way they are and not occupying the era, because there is you occupying where you are, but there is also occupying and dominating in your era and generation. Like right now, you stop doing the old things and you do the things of this generation. So you see how procrastination, as in you assume tomorrow I will have the same chance like I had, and then tomorrow comes, and then you will think that tomorrow, because what happens, procrastination becomes a habit. And then after becoming a habit, it becomes part of your character trait. So you become a forever procrastinator, that when someone tells you something, they can clearly tell that you're not going to do it, even after telling you. I don't know how many bosses are here or employers are here, and you clearly know there is this a person, colleague that you work with, but whenever you tell them, you can come and preempt and tell them everything, but you know they're not going to do it. And you will know that you will have to delegate it to another person. And maybe people are going to be patient with you for 1 year, and maybe there is a bit of some skills that you bring to the table, but wait a minute, if another person can actually exert more skills than you, it's possible that you will be out of the door. They'll be like, you know what, we've given them projects, and projects have failed, projects have gotten to the deadlines, and they are not done, and I don't think we want to entertain that. Procrastination. Another one.
Another one, I think it is lack of self-actualization.
You're
at a crossroads, you're here, you're there. What can you do? Let me think about it. Mm-hmm. Where do you belong, here or there? You're always at crossroads, you're not true to yourself.
Yep.
Something like that.
Lack of self-actualization, I will tie in lack of awareness, and then thirdly, I will tie in ignorance. Now, that is a very bad crossroad. Because you cannot occupy something that you don't know. Something that you're not sure about. You cannot, because part of occupying is applying yourself to something. Dedicating yourself to something. And so, because of ignorance, because we have not exposed ourselves to the truth and what happens, then we can even call certain things cults. We can even call certain things. Have you seen, I don't know, but it's the old generation that talks about Illuminati. They talk about Minati. Minati, yes. I have someone who calls it Minati. But you realize that everything new or strange that they don't understand, they will dub it a bad name. Okay? And then when you dub it a bad name, that means you don't want to jump into that or do it at all. And all of a sudden you start criticizing whoever is doing it. And before you know it, you are on an island of ignorance while the world is actually comfortably moving on. No one is going to wait for you. Okay? So that's a beautiful one. Another one.
I think the meaning of occupy, because when Jesus said, occupy until I come, I didn't know the meaning. I've just realized it today. That when things fail, just occupy until I come. Don't be there thinking, what should I do? Just occupy until I come. I've just noticed it today that it has been my stronghold in everything I do. That sometimes I feel like I don't know what to do. But I feel like me knowing that, it has helped me.
So you're going to apply yourself better.
Exactly.
You're going to maximize yourself because occupying calls for maximization. You can't half occupy. No, that is being a coward. And then you can't occupy and then someone else pushes you away. And you're like, but they pushed me away. Push them away again. Wanji? Occupy. Okay? Yes, please.
Pride and laziness.
I am done. Pride comes before, let me tell you, and there is a foolish pride, a foolish, I will call a spade, a foolish, an ignorance, pride. Like it builds a mountain, because we are talking about strongholds. Now, it builds a mountain inside of you. Whoever is trying to do anything, now you start putting on big lenses of criticism. You are judging everyone. You're criticizing everyone. Oh, those motivational speakers. Oh, those pastors. What are they talking about? Like everyone doesn't know what they are doing. But you who knows what you are doing, you are just seated. You're just pausing. You're in the window peeping at everyone that is. But again, you are nosy, so nosy that you are in everyone's business. Let me tell you, a proud person, I wish a proud person could stick in their business. Because then how would we see their pride? But the reason as to why we see people's pride is because they are nosy. They stick their nose where it does not belong. And they start criticizing people's businesses. But they are doing businesses. What are you doing? You know, that's not how they make money. How much do you have? That's not how they build a company. Where is yours? You know, you see them on social media jumping. Can you at least sneeze so that we can know that you sneezed on social media? Do something, malala gakuzimbia, and then you recognize by the time you look around there is no one, because whoever you were poking their nose into, they pushed your nose back by doing more action that accelerates them and elevates them. Because everyone is on a growth game. No one is going to be there to look at you. Oh, now he's too proud. Now let me not grow so that I do not hurt his pride. We are not going to massage your pride. We are actually going to step it. When you see someone who is proud, you do what you have been doing times 10. So that they can learn to take their nose into another business. Because now that pride is fed by you recognizing it. Mulagenti, you have not even seen what they have done. Ignore them to the point that they feel so small because, and let me tell you, when sometimes God uses us to teach people lessons or to help people come back into line. And when God is correcting people, do not rescue them. Do not stand in the way of God rescuing people. Let them go through whatever they need to go through and let them learn. So laziness, she talks about laziness. We just don't want to lift a hand, okay? And the laziness, even the Bible talks about it, that you sluggard, it calls you a sluggard, the lazy person. You sluggard, take a lesson from an ant. An ant, do we all know an ant? It does not have a ruler, and it does not have leaders, but it harvests in its own seasons, and it keeps for the winter. As in, it self-regulates. It knows, it forecasts and says that, you know what, in 5 years' time, if I am still earning the same, it's not going to be good. What can I do now in order to get more streams of income? What can I do now to multiply my income? What can I do now to get the knowledge that I need? I am preparing for 5 years. Or some of you should be preparing when this job runs out. What should I do? When another COVID hits in the next 5 months and we are on lockdown, what are you prepared to do in order not to survive or sink, but to thrive? We should be thinking ahead. Now, our time is going to come during Christmas, and you're going to see people running around like headless chicken looking for money, borrowing money to buy clothes and food. And then January will come, and some parents will start sending messages. Kakati mpola yoko zino, kakati omanyo mwana nino muzayo kusomero. And then you're like, I wish I can use the same language like the Bible, that take a lesson from an ant. It does not have a ruler, but it plants its seeds and it harvests in its season and it keeps food for the winter. Okay? Some of us are too lazy. And then at the end of that chapter, it says that you sluggard, that poverty is going to pounce on you like a vagabond. You know a vagabond? A vagabond is one who doesn't know where they're going. So poverty will be moving around, and then it will see you in your laziness and it will pounce on you. While you're sleeping, you're pulling your blanket and you're pulling on another blanket. That is where the poverty slides in. And then the sorrowful thing is when you become poor, it's not only you that is poor, but your whole generation to the 4th generation. Like seriously speaking. And then you give us because some of us, yes, we came from a generation that should have been doomed poor. But let me tell you, we said no. The God that we have is a more powerful God that he can break generational cycles, that we can start a different generation altogether. And we said, you know what, we are not doing what our forefathers did. No, we are not. Not on our watch. Our children are going to be better. Our children's children are going to be better. And we are going to leave inheritance for our children's children. That means we have enough, our children have enough, and our children's children have enough. So do I have the luxury of being lazy? Do I? I don't. Do I have the luxury of being proud? No, I don't. I will do whatever it takes to make sure I get to where I want to go, to do whatever I need to do. I don't mind who says what. And let me tell you, there is a level of maturity you get to, and you look at people and you're like, you know what? Mind your business, I mind my business. Yeah, there's a level of maturity you get at. There's a time when I was young and I thought everyone was seeing me. Everyone. We have all been in those phases. I remember there's a time we didn't even have sandals at home. And I remember as a girl or vubuka, you're in your teenage age and your mother is sending you to the shop. Number 1, kweola. Gende wasenga omugambe akwe kilo ya kawunga akwechi, and oh God, and I'll feel like God, I wish the soil will just tear up and just swallow me, you know. But that prayer would not be enough. Still, you will be sent to Senga. But now you're sent to Senga. She's miles away and you're bare feet. Like you don't have shoes, you don't have sandals. So this is what I will do. I will go into the house. I steal my mother's lesu and then I tie it until my legs are covered. And then I would go. Ngankulula lesu. As in balemekula banti ndi mubigere. So and then I get there. I wait on the line. I wait for everyone to go. Because again, how do you start saying, Mami agambye? And then I would have the sarcasm of saying, Mbuno nera, mbuno, and I'm garnering all the strength to make sure neola half ya kaunga, and then she will say, nakalulite mwansa sula, naga kati simanyi obwavu bubi. Wanji? Bwonda manga njogerere obwavu, it's because I know that God snatched me from the claws of poverty. And I wouldn't want anyone, and not anyone, to take your children through that, to take yourself through that, and to even take your children through that. You cannot die a beggar. No, you can't. You cannot be at the mercies of other people. Then you are not occupying. They are not at the mercies of other people. They know their God-given potential. They stand in their God-given calling, and they exercise the authority upon their lives. So the laziness goes out, okay? And then some of us, that one thing that we don't know, some of the strongholds that we have in our lives is consistently choosing wrong characters as our close associates. Every time you choose, you are choosing wrong. And some of us have it even in the romantic relationships. Every time you choose, you are choosing a wrong person. Now, that is a stronghold. I remember in senior 3, I used to invite my family. We stayed in a house, Temoli Cement. I told you at some point I even admired houses with cement. But every morning at 5, I would call all my family, including my father. And I would make them sit in the sitting room and I would tell them, Tukutulabi kolimo, ancestral spirits. My friend, Twakutula ancestral spirits. At this age, the seeds that I planted then, I usually say, the prayers that have sustained me all this while are prayers that I prayed on that altar. Prayers never rot. They never rot. Let me tell you, there were possibilities because the enemy tried as much as he could. Na kutega omuntu omubi, okay? And sometimes you don't choose a wrong person because you love a wrong person. No, you choose a wrong person because of a situation. But what the enemy does, and let me tell you, a stronghold will never look like a stronghold. A stronghold will always look like something that is meant for good. It will camouflage. You remember the snake in the Garden of Eden? Now, if it was, let me say, a robot that was in the garden, it would have been misplaced. But a snake in the garden, it belonged, like it looked like it was normal for a snake to be in the garden. So some strongholds camouflage and they come in a way that looks so, unique and good in our situation. So how that toxic man is going to come in your life, he's not going to come with a signpost of a toxicity. No. But he's going to come with pulling you a chair, with giving you their coat when it's cold, with holding your hand while you're crossing the road, with patting your back when things are not good, calling you all the sweet names and everything. But maybe they will do one thing. Maybe they will slap you once and you'll be like, but he has been good for the whole year. He has just slapped me once. Maybe it was just out of anger. Now, God has tried to show you that this is a stronghold and it needs to be pulled down. But this is what happens. We cover the strongholds because of fear, because of insecurities. Now we leave the doors open for more strongholds to actually bump into our lives and connect into our lives. You know these things of, saying stories. I would tell her, because we left back home when I was young. You heard my story about how we left Mombasa. And so every time I would prompt her to give me more about what was happening. So she would tell me about the sorcery. She would tell me how they wanted to, to even eat people. She would tell me how, and let me tell you, I would take notes. And then when we get to the altar, I don't know what my father made of it, but definitely I was mostly concentrating on ancestral spirits from my father's side. That is where all the fire was going. I had all my targets, back to my father's, because they were really, really, really big strongholds. That my aunties had never gone anywhere, that my whole family was mumbled up. And I was like, never, no, this is never going to happen. And let me tell you, where I am is 1,000 or a zillion times where anyone in my family has ever gotten. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm just starting this journey. And it's going to be an awesome journey. So, Mr. Sabiti, brace yourself. Brace yourself. Because we are going to go on a roller coaster of love, happiness, smiles, and transforming people's lives. Devil, you made a mistake. If I was snatched from your crowds, there is no going back. Wasumagiramu, bo wasumagira ne ntoloka. Bwe natoloka, you can never have me back. Oh my goodness. With everything, no mukululo. And let me tell you, wotoloka no mwami gwofumbidwa na yengo okolachi as in you come with everything. Kati just imagine ya tolose na wotolose mwesanze bagango ne mugambo bayi, no turning back. We hold hands and we go forth. Nabo tugenda nabo. Tusomoka nabo. Tusomoka nabo. I told you, no one gets to rub shoulders with me and remains the same. I think I've said that for how many years? No one that even just hears the sound of my voice. Certain things stopped with me. Okay? So those strongholds, okay? And some of the strongholds, and I will say the enemies of our excellence, I already talked about it, the being nosy. Some of us, nganagwo muzimu, tegukulinda kuterera, olingiriza buli chimu. So that is something that has to go away. And then irritation, everything that is irritating you. Some of these things are just symptoms. But have you ever seen something irritating you and then you know that this is not for me? It has rubbed me the wrong way. I don't feel good about it. That is a warning that that is not something that is supposed to be in your life. Okay? Now, making money, some financial strongholds, or we have failed to occupy in the area of finances and career or skill sets because we are doing what our forefathers did or what belonged in another generation, okay? And this blew my mind while I was researching about this and asking myself, what do I bring to you? I got to find out, and let's go very slow on this, okay? That in the years behind, there were so many edges and errors that happened, okay, to us and to the people that belong there, and how the work progressed and how finances progressed and how people understood wealth. So when you come from whatever years it is to around 1750, it was the age of agriculture, okay? And I don't know, I will ask this. How many of us have ever been in school and you saw a course of agriculture or a course unit and you just looked at it and laughed and you were like, Naeka Kati, what are they going to teach me? Right from secondary. Why? Because it was already out of functionality. Yes, it is happening. People are farming or what, but the age and era, now it's different because we have more machines, we have more automated systems of actually doing this. So it was agricultural era or agricultural age, and land equal to wealth. Like if you had land, you were a wealthy person. Number two, in the ages between 1750 and 1950, it was the industrial age. And here machines ruled, and if you had machines, you were wealthy. Because then, and this is what happens, because every era was feeding into the coming era. Because it was agriculture, now people had done a lot of food and they didn't know how to process it because the processing was taking too long. And then someone decided to make machines. And now someone made machines. Now whoever had machines was ruling the day. They were the ones that had the money because everyone was taking the maize. Everyone was taking, I think you've seen the milling companies. You know, everyone, they're the rich ones on the villages. And this is when I think you've heard of the coffee unions that we used to have, people that used to talk about the coffee sellers and the coffee growers and saying that we should subsidize them, we should give them better prices, so we had all those unions coming into play to make sure that they cater for the farmers and even the people that had machines, so that they are not tebaba sera or they keep giving them good prices. And we still have even those unions underground right now functioning, but they're a bit modernized than it was, okay? And back then in the age of machines, this is what really touched me. Back then in the age of machines, guess what? If you knew anything, for example, you were a writer and you had your manuscript, you had to take it to someone who has a machine to print. And guess what? They would determine whether your book is good or not good. So that means they had to give you permission to print your book, or they refused to print your book. And back then it was not about whether you have the money or you don't have the money. Self-publishing has started now. Back then they would not self-publish. They will have a publisher who has the machinery, and then when you came with your manuscript, they read through it and they said, no, we cannot publish this. So that means everyone needed permission, even the people that had the cassettes and, you know, the studios to do songs. If you had a song and you were dying and you had music in you, you needed to have their permission in order to record a song. Why? Because they were the ones with the machines. So whoever had the machines ruled the day, and they were the ones with the wealth. So that means with your songs and with your babbling, you would come and they will make you sing through the song. And after singing through the song, they will tell you, unfortunately, we cannot record that song. And then you will go with your song. Now, remember in this era, you have social media. That even if you don't go, you can go to a studio with your song. It's just money. You just go pay money, record your song, whether it is bad or good. Or you can just choose to just go live on social media and sing your song. And let me tell you, you will garner some following. There are people who will like you for who you are and the songs that you sing. And you will have some following. So you see that this is a totally different era from what it was back then. And some of you remember we had Kasiu, Kida, we had, those people, and they were the ones with the record tapes, they were the ones with the record labels, and there is no musician that would just publish songs just like that. No, you had to be in their good books, or you had to be connected. Your uncle knows a certain uncle that is connected to Kasiu Kida so that your cassette can come out. So whoever had machines in that era had the wealth. Okay, now we go to number 3. That is 1950 to around 1978. That was the distribution age. Because now the machines were quickening the work. Now they were seated with their products. So now they needed distribution lines to make sure that merchandise goes. And so that means if you had an outlet, you had wealth. Because people were coming to your outlets, and that is where we had franchising, that is where we had, I'm giving you all this to show you up to the age and the era where we are. And that's where malls came in. That is where people started building malls from the Western world. So that it's an outlet. People come to one place to come and make sure that they buy. From factories, we have shops. The corner shops, the groceries, the supermarkets, that is where all that came in that generation, okay? And then... Let's go to number 4. Is it number 4? Yes. That is 1978 to 1994. That is the technology age. Now, technology age, whoever had technology, do you remember that age where people, computer programming, whoever says to do a course is doing computer programming or computer science or computer... computer. And many of them ended up not anyway doing it that much. But those that had the knowledge were the people. They were the guys back then, okay? They were the guys that had wealth. And that is where we see the rise of Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. That is where we see Dell. Those are the ones that ruled the market in that era, because now there is computer. And when we step back into the machine's age, now, that is where, because there is this notion of go to school, study hard, and then get a job. Now, that notion came from the machine era, the distribution era, and then the technology era. Why? Because most of the bosses will tell people that, you've been here operating machines and doing this hard work, but if you can go back to school and get a skill, you can come back and be a manager. Now, people started taking back their children to school to make sure that they get a degree to come back to be managers in that generation. So that is where the notion of go to school, get a degree, and then get a job actually came back, okay? And then 1994 to 2003. Now, I'm coming to years that you understand, okay? That is where we have the information era. Information era, I think that is when we saw the rise of Yahoo, Google, that is when we saw the rise of those people who were searching for information. I don't know whether some of you were logged in by that time, but I remember at that time I had a Yahoo account, and they used to bring those pictures. But I don't know whether you remember those eras of Yahoo, and even Yahoo functions right now, but back then when it had just come, it was a hot thing. Hotmail, it was a hot thing. So now that was the era of information age, okay, and control of information. Now we come to 2003 to 2008, and apparently extending to where we are. This is where we have technology and education and information coming to intertwine. But coming to intertwine with an age of strategic partnership. That now it's not only the companies, for example, because in this era, it's the era of app stores. How many of us are downloading everything that App Store has to offer? This is the era of app stores. But do you know what app stores are doing? They are wanting to your share. They want to partner with you so that you put your things on them so that when they sell, they can give you a part of what they have sold. That is where we have Amazon. That is where we have eBay. That is where we have, all these apps that you see. Okay? And even Facebook. What they are doing, they are getting money out of whatever they are doing, and they are saying that we want to give you that money. That is where we have YouTube. They are saying, put your information on us, people come and love your information, and we will pay you for that information. So that means, if you're the kind that is waiting, that let me go to school, let me get a degree, and then let me go and look for a job, that is starting to phase out in this market, because it's an internet market right now. So that means that everyone has the potential to be wealthy in this generation. Everyone has the potential to be wealthy. Today I keep seeing Haruna's posts and the sponsorships. Haruna makes soap, and he teaches people to make soap. And that is something that he does, and he gets money out of. And he's saying, Facebook, I'm giving you some of the money to make sure that you sponsor this ad, and 1,000 people will see it, and maybe I will get 30 people or 20 people to actually sign up for my program, and I will earn money out of it. So it's a strategic partnership. It's what do you have that we can put to use, that we can both earn from, and we can give you the commission for it, or we can give you your money for it. That means authority has been placed into your hand. That what gift do you have? Do you love cooking? That is something that can earn you money. Do you love dancing? That is something that can earn you money. To the extent, I saw weird jobs of people, you know how movies do? They have those sounds. And sometimes we think that while they were shooting, those sounds were authentic. No. Sometimes someone is walking in a movie, but when they were walking, they didn't grasp that sound. And there is someone on internet who just does a job of sitting at home and nakona akakondo, ng'omuntu watambula mu movie ng'agiraba n'agoberera n'amala n'aweereza sound yeyo n'agiweereza the movie industry. Yeah. And they synchronize it with a movie. And nalete bisubi, nabitekawo, natandika okulinnya ng'omuntu ali mu kibira, nalinnya n'amaanyi, you have seen those things. People are making money. What are you doing? You can have a job, you can have a career, whatever career that you already have, and you can do something on your side, something you're passionate about, and let me tell you, with time, your passion will have to take over your job. You will have to give time to your passion. And I think Tim has talked about this so many times. He has twisted it, Nachi said it. But I felt like giving you this history to show you that if you do the wrong thing in the wrong era, we are leaving you behind. Olaba nafa abakadde tetukkiriza kukaddiwa. Hey, mbunochi. Bwe baba bazina amazina, naffe tugenda gazina. Bwe chichi. These things about being strategic. Wanji? It's about being strategic. It's like God asked who? Moses, that what do you have in your hands? And he said, I have a rod. And sometimes we say we have a rod because we are doubtful, because we think a rod can't do anything. It doesn't have power. We are doomed, we are dead, and we are finished. God, why did you send us to the Red Sea? Because apparently some of us are standing on the Red Sea and we don't know what the next step is. You're like, no, the Red Sea and what do I do? And God says that, by the way, you are a very good poet. And he says, what do you have in your hands? That I have poems. And you're like, poems. Let me go and hang out at National Theatre. Let me tell you, people are doing poems for a living. People are doing choreography for a living. People are dancing on internet for a living. People are living those nice houses that you see. And we are the ones that are consuming. In Never Gambia, there is nothing good in consuming. Everything is in contribution. So you cross over to contribution. But while you're seeing that couple, they're doing all those pranks on themselves, and you're here, you're laughing. You're like, these guys, stress. Their bank accounts are being uploaded with money. Meanwhile, what are you doing? Just laughing? And enjoying? Wanji, do more than that. I'm not saying don't enjoy, but when it comes to time for contribution, write your articles if you're a writer, sing if you're a singer. If you're a coach and you feel the urge to help people, come, be trained, and God has brought these services near you. You know, you would have said, I have to fly to America to go and get a certification for being a coach. Here in Uganda right now, where we tell you that it's just 1 million shillings and you can pay it in installments, and you are certified as a coach, and you can start your own practice, and you can make your own money, you can book your own clients. Jesus. Some of us are too blind. That is why we will never occupy, because blind people don't occupy. Blind people don't occupy. You have to open your eyes and see. Because I cannot sit on a seat. I told you, a visionless life is prone to accidents. A visionless life is prone to? You have to have a vision. And say, I'm going to sit on this chair. But the moment I say I'm going to sit on a chair, but I am blind, I will take the other side, I will go around it, and it's possible I will sit here instead of sitting in the chair. But all these things are available to us. There is no excuse. You can never give me any excuse for not occupying. You can never. That what? That I am poor? People are starting from scratch. We started from scratch. So there is no excuse. If you have a phone, as in there is nothing you can tell me. To the extent I told some of the coaches in my mentorship, I was like, if you think you have a bad camera, come and bench me in my office and say, you know what, I can even buy a phone just for the coaches to come and do social media. As in, because I care for the people in my community, and I don't want them to have any single excuse as to why they are not doing whatever they are doing. And then some of you pray for the phones, and when you get the phone, you forget why you got it. You start taking selfies of food, you start taking what, and then you forget. It happens. But a person that is going to occupy is one who reminds themselves, because they want success more than they think. They want it so bad. How bad do you want that money? How bad do you want to feel confident? How bad do you want to feel like you belong? How bad do you want? How bad do you want it? Because if you want it, you can start as soon as tomorrow. This age is not where celebrities are limited, to those people, the biggest musicians, the biggest. No. This age and era, you can wake up and you can be a celebrity tomorrow. People can celebrate you for what you are doing and what you love. And what you love could be making jokes. And people will celebrate you for that. So while you're saying, they just maximized their potential and they occupied a place and they said, we have arrived, we are not apologetic, and we are not living here. So whatever it is that you want in life, it is very possible. Very possible. Occupy. Don't wait for permission. According to my uncles, I was supposed to be married at around, I don't know how old, because apparently I looked like an old woman. I grew up fat. So I was supposed to be married young, before I was even maybe 15 or even 16. No, I forgave them. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know where my God was taking me. You see? So it's not up to anyone, it's up to you. It's up to you. And if you're in this space, and indeed you fail to occupy, you will have no one to blame. Because God has spoken it, people have spoken it, you have felt the conviction, it will be up to you to say, there are certain strongholds I never pulled down, and then there are certain steps I never took as a person to make sure that I occupy. I see a space, and I take a chance. I'm like, you know what? Can you go? Some people go by volunteering. Some go by killing their fears inside of them. I want us to be so serious. I feel this heavy on my heart. No one is standing in your way but you. No one is standing in your way but you. You know what to do, but you are not doing it. I want you to do it, okay?
Spirit TV, a place for you.